Tony Chopper is not only one of the most beloved Straw Hats, but also overall characters in the One Piece community. However, due to him being sidelined most of post time skip, most fans at this point only consider him to be, a mascot at most. However, true Chopper fans still have hope, and that comes in the form of his Devil Fruit. And with all the screen time that Chopper has been getting in Elbaph so far, I believe Oda could be leading us to some answers about what Chopper's Devil Fruit truly is. So today, I want to get into some things that really don't make sense about his Devil Fruit, a leading theory on what his Devil Fruit could actually be, and then how all these, feats we've seen from Chopper in this arc could be a lineup to the reveal of the actual fruit. Starting with the things about Chopper's fruit that don't really make any sense, the most glaring one to me is his fruit not having a model name. So what I mean is his is the human fruit, but nothing else. Whereas, Luffy, for example, the human fruit model Nika, Sengoku, the human fruit model Buddha. So these other human fruits we've all seen have forms. I think the dog, or not the dog, the fox in Wano, Onimaru, also has one. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but he also has a human fruit with a model for that. So that's three that all have model names. Chopper's does not. That's definitely a glaring issue and makes you question, all right, why does he not have a model name as well? There should be something. Another thing we can call into question is Chopper's will and the will of his devil fruit. We find out in Wano when Luffy awakens that Zoan type devil fruits have a will of their own. So Luffy, of course, wants to be the most free, so it makes sense that he would eat the fruit of the warrior of liberation, sun god Nika. Those wills align, so he was able to awaken the fruit, and the fruit willed itself for him to eat it. So Chopper, once again, with a Zoan fruit falling under the same category, would mean his will and the devil fruit's will would have to line up. But if this fruit is just a typical basic human fruit, Chopper's will, his dream isn't to be a human, it's to be the ultimate doctor, to cure any disease, to help everyone. So it doesn't really line up. It would make more sense if it was potentially, the forest god fruit, which we'll talk about later, or something like that that relates to healing more than becoming a human. So the wills aren't lining up either. The last big thing that doesn't really line up for Chopper would be that he has 9 different transformations or 9 different forms compared to the standard Zone user that only has 3, the base form, the hybrid form, and then the full Zoan form. Chopper triples that, and he has 9, which granted, pre-time skip, he is medically enhanced. He's using the Rumble Ball to make the transformation, so you can make that argument. But then post-time skip, he can do it without any Rumble Balls. So he's completely just using the Devil Fruit power with no enhancements, no anything. He's doing something no other Zoan is able to do in the story. Something is not right. Branching off of that, Monster Point itself is really interesting as well when you think about the fact that that should be, almost an awakening or like an artificial awakening almost because, like I said, it's drug enhanced. So if that's the awakened form and it's the human fruit, shouldn't the human part take over and he would become more human, not more reindeer monster like? So yeah, that in itself doesn't really line up with just the human fruit. That seems more of something to do with the forest or something to do with a god fruit, something like that, other than just simple plain nothing. A last little bonus point before we move on: it's not really canon per se. It's more of just a theory, so take it with a grain of salt. But we do know that Blackbeard showed up to Drum Island before the Straw Hats did, looking for something. Oda has not confirmed what he was doing there, but a big speculation is that he was back at it again with the devil fruit hunting. So which devil fruit would he be looking for? Maybe Chopper's. And if he was, that would mean that is much more than the human fruit, because that would be useless to Blackbeard. He's not trying to give anybody human powers. He's trying to find the most overpowered devil fruits, on the seas. So just again, there's another theory. It's not officially confirmed that Blackbeard was there looking for devil fruits, but it would push the Chopper agenda a little bit more, so thought I'd throw it in there for fun. Moving on to some theorizing, I want to talk a little bit about the Chopper Forest God theory, but not as much, the mythology and past stuff. I want to talk about current stuff in Elbaph, where we've seen Chopper show some traits of a God fruit user, more specifically the forest god. First off, we got to talk about Chopper being able to change his size at will, not just in Monster Point, but other points too. We have seen him at least 2 times that I remember using guard point on giants. So he is turning massive to to cushion these blows. There's one earlier when he was saving Scopper where he was almost as big as an Elbaph mountain, and then more recently, when Gerd and Hyruden came flying in and almost hit Loki, he hit guard point there and he completely, cushioned Gerd. So the sizing, that is something that Luffy does, being able to change his size at will. Also, speaking of Luffy, his running on air, his leg spinning gag that he only does when he's in Gear 5. We saw Chopper do that once again when he was falling to save Scopper. We see the running on air gag. Once again, we've only seen from a Godfruit user. It's something small, but that's how Oda does it. It's the small little details that pile up as he slowly leaves the breadcrumbs for you to pick up until he leads to the big reveal. The biggest thing, though, easily Chopper's biggest feat in this arc, maybe even entire post time skip, is him being able to undo Domi Reversi just by contacting someone who's under it. He's able to completely flip them back to normal. And this is not the trait of a human fruit. This is the trait of a fruit with healing properties, or being able to turn someone back to normal, healing them to their original state. That would be way more likely than anything a human power could give him. Another little bonus point, branching off of something that I saw when I was researching for this video, but Chopper and Onigashima, when he overspends his stamina using Monster Point, his drawback is he turns into a little mixture of a baby and an old man, which once again is very similar to Luffy's drawback when he runs out of stamina in Gear 5. He turns into the old man every single time Luffy runs out of stamina. That's what happens. So, it's a small little connection, but if it ends up being something, remember I said it here. Kind of wrapping it up, I want to talk about how we could see the lineup for this reveal with the next chapters to come, and from the last chapters we've been getting. Last we saw, Robin showed up and told Chopper that she wants him to come to the library. Prior to that, last time we saw Robin and Saul, they were talking to Biblo, and he had saved all the books from burning and went down to like a secret bunker under the library. They were kind of questioning, like, Biblo, you're pretty mysterious. And last we saw Chopper, he was talking to Ragnar using his little animal to animal speech. So my leading theory, I think the community's leading theory, would be he just talked to an animal. Robin and Saul have an animal. Chopper come over here and translate for this bird. I think this could be huge because we don't know how old this owl is. We don't know how long it's been here, what all it knows, what it's seen all of this time. And not even its true devil fruit at this point. We only have Lilith's speculation of the Grow fruit. So pretty much anything we could find out here, but in terms of how it could line up for Chopper's reveal, if this bird is old enough, it could know something about the past forest god, something like that, or something similar. It doesn't have to be the forest god necessarily, but I think something pertaining to Chopper's fruit itself would be really interesting. Another potential outcome I could see is maybe Robin is starting to put the pieces together about Chopper and the forest god connections, because she was the one who basically read the prophecy about the 3 worlds while Frankie was looking at the mural, and specifically the line, the forest god tamed demons, is really interesting. Kind of ties back to what we were talking about with Chopper being able to undo the Domi Reversi. So basically demons, Chopper is taming those demons by flipping them back. So a lot of people are connecting that line, and it would make a lot of sense. And Robin is smart enough to put 2 and 2 together. So if Biblo doesn't give him the answers, maybe Robin has seen enough to, kind of start putting it together herself. That wouldn't be like my go-to one. Again, I think Biblo is the leading theory, but Robin is also the archaeologist, the ultimate knowledge keeper. So I think she could also put it together as well, and that would be pretty interesting. But with that, that is all I have on Tony Chopper today. I just really wanted to talk about it because I'm hoping we see Chopper in the next chapter, and knowing the pace that Oda's going at, we might just get the straight, answers that we want next chapter. So wanted to get this out here. I know the forest god theory is very oversaturated and has been repeated over and over again, but I really do think that we could get there at this point. We're having a bunch of the god fruits revealed. We had Luffy's in Wano. Then we just recently had the rain gods, like at least main form, kind of revealed. So we're starting to get the god fruit reveals. It would make sense if he knocked out another one while also boosting Chopper. I'd always be here for it. But yeah, like I said, that's about all I got. Make sure to let me know in the comments what you think about Chopper. What do you think about the ideas for his devil fruit? Do you agree with the forest god theory? Do you disagree? And until the next one, peace.